I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Town of Edgewood, July 9th, 2019, at 6:30 PM. The first order of business here is roll call. Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Fox.
Present.
Commissioner Herrera.
Present.
Commissioner Huppertz.
Present.
And Commissioner Turner.
Present.
And I'm here, Commissioner Felton. Next is approval of the agenda. You guys have had a chance to look it over, suggest anything that needs to be rearranged, or go ahead and let's have a motion to approve it.
I move we approve the agenda.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. So the next item is approval of the minutes, the draft Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes for June 25th, 2019. If you see anything we need to change, shout it out. Otherwise, a motion to approve, we'll move ahead.
Chairman?
Yes.
Page 3, I just noticed this. In discussion, Commissioner Turner asked Commissioner Huppertz if she could off, I think it's supposed to be offer. Friendly offer, He's left ER off, I think that's what she meant.
Offer.
I only noticed one thing that's kind of an omission, and it may not be important. We offered the applicant a closing statement, and he said, oh, that's okay.
You want me to add that?
I don't know, do you think it's important?
I didn't, since he didn't give one.
Okay.
So.
It is now documented on this tape.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That we did offer that, and
Yeah.
he very quickly declined. He said everything he needed to say. Anything else? Anybody see anything to correct or add?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the only thing I see here is on item number 1 where it says absent and then staff in attendance.
Mhm.
You know, that
Oh,
seems to-
yep,
That's
okay.
kind of run together.
It's like a missed hard return or
Yep,
something.
I didn't return it.
Yeah.
So whenever you're ready, if we've covered everything, we just need a motion to go ahead and approve these. And we'll keep moving.
I motion that we approve the minutes with the small changes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Next, item 4, we have an action item. And this is, I think, this is findings of fact and conclusions of law from the public hearing that we had in our last meeting. An application from Robert A. Marquez of a conditional use permit for secondary quarters on 5.06 acres of tract A4R, T11N, R7E, Section 34, also known as 41 Windswept Road in Santa Fe County, Edgewood. And that's in your packet, the findings of fact. Do you need me to read any part of this, Tanya?
I don't think so. If you guys have read through it, you see it goes along with what happened, and I think we can go.
Yeah. As we said in the minutes, too, from last meeting, that application was completely compliant with ordinances and
Yeah.
made a lot of sense in the setting that it's going to be in. And that's really what the findings of fact say.
Should, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
we did place a condition on here. Does that need to be noted? Did I miss it?
We probably do need to add that. So after is hereby approved with the condition that, okay, I can add that. I forgot about that.
We're waiting on the letter, right, from
Yeah.
NMED?
And you received it, right?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Nope, I received information on cluster septic tanks, or cluster septic system.
Information from the applicant?
Yeah, that Levi sent to them.
Oh,
Levi from E
okay.
NMED.
So I guess, can we take action on this and just approve it with the condition, or, with that one change to this? We don't need to consider it again, right?
Right, we don't.
Yeah, so then-
I may have to have you sign it again, because it's probably going to
Yeah.
throw everything down.
And, I'm around. I'm
Okay.
mostly painting rooms in the house, so
Okay.
whenever you have it ready, I can just run down the street here and sign it.
Okay.
So then, a motion to approve this with the change, and then we can go ahead and get that done.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little confused. If they haven't brought the paperwork that they need to give you, should we actually be signing this yet or approving it yet?
I'm sure they're going to bring, I mean, they're already in contact with Levi. I think maybe it slipped their mind or something. I mean,
Well, and even if they don't, this is the findings of fact, this is the
what happened,
legal
yeah.
outcome of the public hearing we held, regardless of whether they actually comply with it or not.
So
And I'm sure they
basically,
will.
what would happen if they failed to bring it in and the house goes in, we just put a cease and desist, they don't get a certificate of occupancy until they provide what they need to provide.
But we've already approved it going ahead on the condition that they bring us that letter.
Yes.
And you've already communicated with Levi? Is that? who's
No,
in NMED?
Levi's communicating with them.
Oh,
Yeah. But they were forwarding the emails to me. And that was just the information on the cluster system.
Okay, so then I move that we approve the fact and finding and conclusions of law for recommendation or in the matter of the applicant by Robert Marcus for the conditional use permit based upon the provision that the documentation, the fact, be added to the document
Okay.
that was required from NMED. Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Okay. So just let me know, Tanya, when you have the changes done. I don't think I'm going to Lowe's again in the next few days. I got paint everywhere in the house. So let's move on to another action item. This is related to discussion we've had about appeal of record, amending our ordinances to specify that. So you have all the stuff that's marked up.
How did that get in there? Sorry that it's not in color.
That's all right.
So, do you have this, though?
I have it electronically.
Okay, so it's in Christmas if you do have this one, but he's gonna go grab it and put it on. So we just added the language in there, in case of an appeal from the approved or denial of a final plat under section 10 of this regulation, the council may affirm, modify, or reverse the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Let's see, hold on. Oh, right here. So, this is in the subdivision ordinance under preliminary plat. This is the only place that we can remand, the town council can remand it back to you guys, is under preliminary plat. Under final plat, they can't because there's the 35-day time frame. The other spot where it will be added is under the zoning ordinance. They can remand it back to you guys there. So that's the
Zoning
language
change.
that was added in here. So everything else that you guys had already seen before is the same. And I think this was action.
Yes, yeah, whenever you guys are comfortable with it, unless there are things that we have to change, then all we need is a motion to go ahead and send this forward tonight. Council's aware this is coming, are they?
I don't know. I don't know if they listen to our meetings. We're doing a call, though, a call for public hearing at this next meeting, and it's going to be changes to the zoning ordinance. So the next time we come forward, if we don't have the Campbell training on the 23rd, we're going to action development review industrial zone as well. Because I want to take all of it at one time.
Yeah,
Then
and
we
I
can
won't-
just do appeal replace
I won't be here for that one.
for the 23rd? Okay. All right.
Flying to Boston, not on a 737,
Yeah, we'll
whatever
just
the
go.
heck they are. Those things that crash.
Yeah.
It means I have to,
What is it, what are you going to fly on?
I don't know what equipment they're using, but I know I have to be at Sunport at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Originally, they changed me to a 2 stops, including a 4-hour layover in Phoenix.
Oh, 4-hour layover there?
Yeah, we fixed that up. It's a better
Gee.
itinerary, but
Wow.
still.
Yeah.
Glenn, the good news is all the MAX 8s are still grounded.
Yeah, I know,
So you're just on a regular airplane.
right.
So there is in color up there.
Okay.
My apologies for that.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Has this been sent to the town lawyer to look at?
Yes, this is where the changes came from.
Okay.
Okay, good. So council hasn't considered this at all at this point, huh? Okay. I hope they're good with it.
I think they will be.
Yeah. I mean, it's been vetted through our attorney.
It works a lot like the Court of Appeals, actually.
Yeah.
It works a lot like the Court of Appeals.
Yeah, right,
They don't
that's
really put
right.
a case on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, the other way? Gotcha. Further?
So it'll go under the prelim and then zoning, the changes to remand it back. Yeah. Yes. Should be in color. There it is.
Yep, there we go. Right here.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Tanya a question?
Yes, go ahead.
It says, let's see, that they cannot bring any new information to the town council.
Right.
Okay, does that mean they have to have another appeal? Say they discover something they didn't know the first time, how do they handle that?
How does the town council handle
No,
that?
how does the person
applicant?
appealing handle that?
I,
Is there,
To take the decision
yeah.
and file another thing. with-
Right, they'd have to
okay,
withdraw and
kind
start
of
over.
repeat the whole process then,
Yeah,
If they wanted to,
if they wanted to.
if they want to
Yeah.
pursue an appeal or something, whatever they do in here with you guys.
Well, I'm agreeing, I think that makes sense, because that way there's not a continuous stream of thought-up new pieces of
Well,
information.
what you want to try to avoid also, they told us at that NMLZO, you were there that day.
Yeah,
Don't make the applicant go through two sets of putting on a show.
right,
They come in here and make their effort in here, and we go off the record.
right.
but if they decide that they want to present a different show, you know, if there's new information, then I would think they'd have to withdraw
Right.
And
the
reapply.
request they have and start over. Right.
Yep. And I guess that would be where staff would come in and say, this evidence was not presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is new evidence.
Mhm.
So,
That's a new application.
Yeah.
That spelled out pretty good.
Yeah, it seemed like this process was step-by-step logical, that, reading through this. But I just didn't quite see anything about what if they get new data
yeah.
or something. Like on septic systems or something, you know, they found out
The
that,
quickest thing would just be to go file a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Do stuff for it.
right.
Right. It's like what's been done to date just gets erased and you start over.
Yeah.
So based on all the evidence, if council heard all the evidence we heard and they didn't agree with our decision, then they could repeal it. But it's not new evidence or repeating it
Right, it would be the same evidence,
that we heard.
record of the evidence you all.
Yeah, and they just
Right.
might not agree with us.
And that way, like they told us, they don't have to put on another thing, they just come in here and whoever the appellant is, state what their reason for wanting
Yeah.
whatever is in Iowa or whatever. And it's not a quasi judicial even.
Yeah, and basically, I mean, an appeal doesn't spin on whether or not the person hearing the appeal likes the decision of the lower body. It's a matter of, was a mistake made?
Exactly.
Were ordinances applied in the wrong way, or a part of it was not understood, or, you know, it always has to spin on a mistake, not, well, I don't like their findings, so I'm going to find differently.
Well, it seems to me it's having it put in there quite procedurally tight is very good, so that they can't play a role of the PZ versus the city council.
Right,
We do
exactly.
not want to be in that kind of position.
It's not a fun position to be in.
No. And it has happened in the past.
Yes,
I don't know if that's ever happened in the past.
It has indeed.
has.
Oh, yeah.
it has.
So then whenever, you feel comfortable with this, we can go ahead and approve it tonight and send it forward. If there are no changes to make, all we need is a motion. Let's do it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
I would like to offer a motion that we forward the recommendation as presented to us for appeals of record for the subdivision ordinance and the zoning ordinance, with a recommendation for adoption of these provisions to the council.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it passes. And I think it's a really positive change.
Yeah.
So that takes us to a discussion item. By the way, I'm rolling ahead here. If anybody needs a break at any point, just wave at me. Item 6, discussion item, Section 8 of our procedure for development reviews.
Section 8, development and review 2.
2.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. I can't remember everything we talked about last time. But we added the TAC. I think that might have been in there the last time. The new things that are in are the duration and forfeiture of permit. Some definitions. Now, we do have alternate residential structures and alternate commercial structures. And also, you have a copy of the state statute where it talks about living in sheds. So, I mean, it's not a very good state statute if you ask me, because it says no, and then it says, well,
But you can do
Sort of.
anything.
except.
As long as you
Yes.
make it not a shed.
But you know,
Not gonna
that's kind
happen.
of the way it is in land use.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do something or you must do something, but on the other hand.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So my question is, does the town have the authority, given this state statute, to prohibit these things?
I would, off the top of my head, I would say, in general, you can make a restriction that is
I
tougher
think
than state law.
you can, yes.
You just can't make anything that's softer than state law.
Right. I think the only place that you can't is when it comes to manufactured housing.
Right,
But
for
in
very
this,
specific reasons.
yes, in this, I think we can. I'm not opposed to tiny homes. I just don't want tiny homes in Graceland sheds and Weather King. That's what I don't want. And I've already had people wanting to live in those and shipping containers and then putting commercial offices in the same things.
Don't we already have that in town? Offices in sheds?
I hope not.
In containers?
Oh, maybe the
Portable building?
Graceland
Portable
buildings.
Oh, well, yeah, in those we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're occupied all day. I think those are call only here in town.
Mhm.
I don't see
Yeah, I
that
think
girl
they
there.
are.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not an occupied?
Yeah, I think it's just when they get a call, they go in there and do the paperwork.
Ah,
Yeah,
But we can investigate.
but
that
we can
further.
investigate it, yes.
Where they sell
Mis-
sheds.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, I do have something to
Yes,
say
Commissioner
on that
Lee.
one, because I know there's, near Moriarty and then right down at the major intersection, there is an office where they run their and meet their people, and it's a very tiny little office there in one of those very small buildings, and it's the same down on the other end. And they're there a lot of hours a day. It's like a regular office in one of the buildings where they sell the sheds to go out to your house to store stuff in. Now, is that crossing any lines there?
It is. Yeah, they shouldn't have customers there unless they,
Because I know the people by personal that had that for a long time, and they sold the stuff on the lot and the building that they operate out of. It's not like it's smelly or dirty or anything like that. I don't know if they have restrooms in there, but I know that both of the lots that are selling additional buildings out here between here and Moriarty is a real office, a regular office. They have typewriters, computers, and everything else in there.
I haven't been in there, so I wasn't aware. I didn't think that they manned it all day long.
Well, I can't say that, but I see that when I go up to, maybe the Sonic or something like that, there always seems to be somebody there. And a lot of people actually, sometimes there's lined up people to talk.
Oh.
So, I mean, they don't really have I just don't know what that is, if that's classified as an office or what. It says office on it, with a light that shines and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be ADA certified, and it's supposed to have a bathroom that's ADA. I mean, there's rules to it. There's probably some sort of rule about if you're only meeting people there to do paperwork. So you're only there for a little while, but I don't know. I mean, we'll definitely look into that.
Well, I've seen both functions there of giving an introduction to this company's line of sheds and talk them through why, these are good, and then taking them out and walking around to see them is, of course, one of the major parts of it. And then they come back and write the contracts and seal the deals. So 2 out of the 3 functions of that business are performed in that office. I don't know, I never thought about it until I just sat here tonight listening, And
So who does that land, is right behind Walgreens, that one, right, or across the street?
that one's gone. That used to be run by
Street's
by the Hoys, that's gone.
Oh, yeah.
But the Hoys still have the lots down there at the other end, almost to Moriarty, but there are companies that, set them up there. See, they're just the interface. The people in the offices are pretty much the interface to take the money, and then the company that built it will come and pick it up and take it to your place and all that kind of stuff.
So the owner is the same owner of that land as the other one? Oh, no, okay.
The one I'm specifically talking about with the sign that says office is lighted is right due south of Walgreens.
Walgreens, right.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I remember that, but since we just started talking about it, it seems a contradiction of sorts.
Back down there. Other way.
So I have some stuff for Section D, but it can wait until we nail down this stuff.
Okay.
I'm bothered by tiny homes. Without defining it, I wonder if it would be better to just not say it. Because it's a thing. I mean, it's a,
Okay, so we can leave it as, we'll take tiny homes out and just put a period after trailers?
it might be easiest.
Okay, all right, we can make that change.
You know, people acquire a truck chassis, they put some wheels on it, and they build a 280 square foot home. They may move it or they may not. That's a tiny home, and 10 states regulate it and permit it. 10 other states, it's a nightmare trying to get approval for one. There are TV shows about them.
Yes.
I know, some of them are really nice.
I know, that's why it may
everybody that's been at our Walmart. It's going to be something, it seems to be a growing thing, to have these nomads, so.
And I was going to say, I do know of a new friend that I made. Her mother. It wasn't super tiny. It was just like a narrow mobile home, but it was, built. So it's still there, but it's able to be moved out. So sometimes they're like secondary quarters. They could be, I wonder if they could be,
As long as it's built
Recognized
to
like that.
International Building Code and it's no bigger than 850 square feet.
Right.
Because we didn't
Tiny
put,
homes aren't put on permanent foundations, are they?
some of them,
So we could require that if we're going to have tiny homes. If someone
Could.
built one, that might be the exception if it's on a permanent foundation.
yeah.
Yeah. and-
so the square footage would be the, kind of the boundary or the,
Yeah, no bigger than 850
Measure,
square feet, but we
qualifier.
didn't say anything about, don't go smaller than.
Right. Well, some states regulate it by size. I don't remember which ones, Colorado, North Carolina, they say nothing smaller than 400 square feet. Others regulate it by must-pass electrical and CID regulations. So there's different ways of doing it, and I don't think any of them are clean,
Yeah.
which is probably why Texas goes, oh, heck, we don't care. They haven't, they do lip service anyway to regulating them, but I think they're very, very permissive.
Well, and I think the thing in Texas is they'll let you build it, but if it burns down, we're so sorry, you
Yeah.
made your choice, so.
Right.
How large was the Marquez's place?
850,
850, that was my memories.
yeah.
So that is definitely not a tiny home category, I would think.
That's a decent size.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, and that's not what they applied for. I mean, if
No,
somebody,
no, I'm not arguing with that part, I just was trying to.
yeah, but
in
if
my
somebody
mind-
came in and said, I want to build a 600 square foot house, what do we say? Do we say, no, that's
If
tiny?
it's the primary residence,
If it's,
it wouldn't even come
if
to you
it's-
guys.
if it's appropriately plumbed and passes electrical inspection,
Yeah.
how do you say no to something like that?
Well, homeowners associations can put demands on it,
Right.
no less than 1,200 square feet and stuff like that. That happens more than one place around Edgewood.
Oh, sure.
Oh, definitely.
The covenants in my neighborhood, and it only governs 9 houses,
Yeah,
actually stipulates that I don't think it says shall, but should be staggered. They shouldn't all be lined up along the same line on the street. There's all sorts of things that are in covenants. And yes, a fully functional incorporated homeowners association could do something like that. Covenants, everybody would just go,
Yeah,
sue me.
yeah.
But, this is why I'm worried about having the words in there, because we're restricting something that we can't really define very well.
So we'll take out the words tiny homes.
Yeah, and
Maybe
then,
we'll deal with them later in a
Yeah,
different.
you may.
As different section or something.
right, we may end up dealing with it down the road.
Yeah.
But for now, what we're really concerned about is sheds and shipping containers.
So let's go ahead and
Yeah.
amend
Yeah.
that right now.
Someone may want to put in a subdivision of tiny homes.
well, they're doing that.
With a shared bathroom.
Sure.
Got a possible tax meeting next,
Yes.
we have that over here. Pre-application process. Tax meeting.
On development review?
Is there any application required? Pre-application conference. town departments involved or affected should be advised to send the application confidence if possible.
Where are you seeing that at?
Page 13.
Oh, in there. We don't have.
Ours aren't page numbered.
We don't have,
Oh, he's looking in the,
At the ordinance.
section 6. So we're working in section 8.
Right.
Um,
Is that redundant? Are you calling on them to add 2 taxes?
The TAC might include more than town employees, right?
yes, it does.
They may be 2 conferences, but slightly different ones.
What's the title for section 6?
I don't have section 6.
Review and approval procedures.
Okay.
We don't have that in front of us.
we don't have that one, do
Yeah, this is in the zoning ordinance.
we? Well, I got the review.
No, it's
process.
secret. You can't see that.
No.
Top secret.
I mean, I guess it is redundant, but I think it's more specific. The language that we need is in section 8, so we can always change it. We can look at section 6 another time.
And it sounds like, section 6 is mandatory, where TAC is optional.
Because TAC isn't always needed.
Right, applications may also require reviews by the Technical Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
Down above, this one here's one time, and this one here's another time.
But they're different things, and one is optional. TAC,
It says it may require, may not.
right. The TAC applications may require review by TAC.
Yeah, we don't always, I mean,
And then it goes on to say
It's
the
rare.
TAC may include representatives from all town departments as well as fire, other regional, state, federal. I could see where, it's, an applicant might look at this and go, well, I got to meet with you, then I got to meet with them.
sometimes.
It falls here for all town departments involved or affected, present their application confidence if possible.
It says it may include, they pick out the ones that are needed.
Section 8.
I think we need to take that out, honestly. Because we don't always do that. We don't need it all the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've got it here.
Got it right
That you
here.
have to.
Yeah,
You
you
just
got
said
it
that.
here,
Mhm.
then flip over to here, and where you're suggesting to put that in.
Mhm. For development
It reads
review.
like a second tax.
Yeah, it does. So we need to, we'll re-look at section 6 after we get done with section 8 at another time, because it seems that needs to be updated.
Maybe you just invite, to do TAC up front
Mhm.
in section 6,
Yeah,
and 8 doesn't have to mention it.
Maybe one or the other of them ought to be sufficient.
Right.
Right.
Section 6 then?
yeah.
No. Okay, thanks. That's what I was getting confused.
I'll do that.
Tanya, you don't always need the TAC
No.
meeting? Okay.
No, when it comes to development reviews, I mean, the majority of them are just really simple. And, I mean, Renee always looks at them, unless, of course, she's out of town. And then, we already know what she looks at, so we can just handle it ourselves. We have it on the permit that we print out that says, the driveway has to be 14 feet wide, and things like that, and that it only lasts for a year. But anything that we know that she looks at, we can look at ourselves and tell them, hey, you've got to change this.
Is that the fire lady?
So having anybody else there, it's rare.
So maybe you could go back then in section 6 and maybe tweak it to what you actually do. And leave it to your discretion, but make sure that you have the authorization from the ordinance to convene the TAC if you feel
Right.
that it's warranted in that situation, which would be something complex or something that doesn't fit the usual,
Yeah.
something really unusual.
like number D.
I want to talk about D a little bit, but
Okay.
just real quick, F, it says, commercial mixed-use or special-use zones, does it also need to include industrial, light industry, or, because
Yes,
we will have one of those.
yeah,
Right.
so we need to add that.
And I can foresee someone wanting to put a caretaker's unit in a shipping container or something. Right?
So like Ford Light Industry?
Tanya, may I ask, there is a building down right off the I-40 near Washington and intersection with, I can't remember the other street, that looks like the whole building is built up of containers.
Yeah, it's Green Jeans.
Jeans, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, if
so,
somebody wanted to do something like that, I wouldn't be opposed, but things that I'm getting, the ideas I'm getting are just plopping some shipping containers down and calling it a
Right.
business.
that's a whole different thing, but they probably had to get an exception for that,
Oh,
too.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure they did.
I mean, I would think,
Yeah, they're building another one now, too.
yeah, okay. So if somebody came in with some idea like that,
Well, I mean, if we say no shipping containers, they can't have them, but, I mean,
right.
I wish that, the reason that we're doing this is because of the ideas that we've had come in. So we want to jump ahead of them before they say, hey, well, you don't have anything in your ordinance that says I can't.
It's also worth mentioning that the people who did Green Jeans, that's what they do
Yeah.
all across the country.
Oh, wow.
It's their expertise is
That's awesome.
converting those over. And they
What?
spent probably a year and a half on that one.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of degrees of difference in ugliness and other things that we wouldn't want out here, sitting in a place where there's no big buildings around it and you can't fit it into the building so that, you're not seeing the true nature of just a stack of containers, even artfully done.
Mhm.
So maybe it makes more sense in Albuquerque where there's surrounding buildings than out here in our situation.
Yeah.
So can we talk about Section D real quick?
Yes.
Is this appropriate, or are there other comments on alternate structures and TAC?
I think it's a good time to go into it, so.
So as I read it through, I got to the part where it says if the applicant can provide proof of a substantial construction delay. I came away thinking, is that saying enough? Like, what kind of delay?
I think you could list out a lot of different scenarios. I think it just needs to be up to the common sense of the
Right.
staff.
So what we're
Because,
getting at is like a delay that was unavoidable.
right.
Okay.
And if it's just one of those things like,
I was
I'm out of
busy
money.
elsewhere.
yeah,
Financial.
Or I'm out
yeah.
of money.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we actually were working on one today for business licenses, and there was going to be exceptions, and you could list hundreds,
Yeah.
and at some point, you just have to say, okay, let's not list anything, because it's just too hard to try to figure all of them out.
Does it make sense to say after that comma, proof of a substantial construction delay, an exception may be granted by the planning and zoning
Yeah,
staff?
yeah, we can put that.
Yeah.
And then you guys have the authority to do it by, judging how unavoidable the delay was.
Yeah, if you dig up a dinosaur skull
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah.
you're going to be delayed.
Yeah, there's going to be a delay. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point.
And then further down, you guys probably know how this flows, but it confused me. The permit holder and the property owner. And then a cease and desist sign shall be placed on the property. You mean a physical sign?
Yes.
And then permit holder and property owner will be notified?
Yeah, because sometimes it's the contractor
Yeah.
that's the permit holder.
Okay. And then Edgewood Governing Council. Should we just
Okay,
call them
we
Edgewood
can
Town
change that.
Council?
Governing body.
Yeah,
What they go to you guys?
Well, this is for a
Resolution.
resolution, if it's deemed abandoned.
Yeah, I think that goes to council then.
Yeah.
But it should say governing body.
okay. Yeah, that was it. I just, as I read it through a bunch of times, I was like, wait,
Yeah.
I had one more comment on D. So if you put a lien on the property, that doesn't necessarily get rid of the structure that's sitting there. That would the town, could in town sometimes, they don't, if the owner doesn't do anything, can they sell it?
We would usually contract out to another company, whatever they do with it, they do with it.
I mean, so if the owner doesn't take care of doing something, you can have.
they've
it removed.
abandoned it, yeah.
Well, if it's under abandoned, is that what?
And then you try to charge them to get,
We will send them the bill, and if they don't pay it, then we will lien the property.
I mean, if you could sell it, you could probably get your money back, I guess, as a town, as was.
Well,
But I guess you can't. I don't know how that.
That's sticky.
Because we don't have the ownership of it.
Because you
Yeah,
have
we
to
don't have the
buy-
ownership
You have to
of
buy it.
I know.
And who knows if there's a title, I mean,
Right.
take that modular for,
Yeah,
that
I know,
school
that's what I'm thinking
modular.
about.
I don't know what, yeah.
So this is like if you don't show up to work and you don't call in sick for 3 days in a row, you have quit.
Yes, yeah, pretty much.
So this is determining who
Right.
abandoned a property.
That brings to mind, if I owned a lot north on Hardin, just north of Hill Ranch Road, how do I get approval for a very unusual design that's on that lot? Does that come through you guys? Go through the CID?
Well, it would go through CID because
Because
we don't
this
have
looks
our
like
building
a
official.
huge several-story house, and then a huge several-story garage there. And it must have been at least 2 years there, and it's not done yet. Now, do we keep up with that thing as a organization?
Normally, if there's a concern, you would call us, we would check with CID when the last inspection has been.
Well, I mean, they're well past that, but there's just nothing inside of it. It's just they got the shells around it. But that would come through this same process, though, theoretically.
Development review, yeah. But the thing is we're just land use. We look at the use of the land, make sure that they meet setbacks, it's not in a flood zone.
Driveways
As-
and roads. and
Right,
stuff.
It's
as far
not in
as
a
the
flood
building
zone, yeah.
itself, as long as they're not living in a shed or shipping container, CID takes care of the, the building portion of it.
Because, I mean, it looks like if they ever get eventually done, it's going to be magnificent. But it's just sitting there. Okay. Well, that's what I wondered. What if he's paying the contractor, for work done, and he ran out of money to pay him? Is that when your office gets involved in it?
If it's after it,
90
it's not
days.
been occupied for 90 days, yeah, nothing done.
Yeah, well, it's sat there more than 90 days at times. They're putting roofing on it, but they still haven't built the insides. But it just, that seems like an exception that, would we want to make an exception like that? Because it's not a container, and it's not going to look ugly, it's going to be magnificent if they ever finish.
I think it just boils down to the reasoning of why they stopped.
Or did they stop? It looks stopped from where you are
Well-
out on the road, but
And the thing is we don't really know what's going on because we're not watching it all the time.
Right.
And just like the school modular, we thought that there was nothing being done, and proof has come in that
right.
things are being purchased.
So knowing
Yeah,
when to start the clock and who starts it.
Right.
Yeah.
The limitation. Where does that?
yeah, and if they can show proof that they've been actively doing stuff, gotta keep going, whether we think they're doing anything or not, we don't know. But when there's proof,
Yeah.
hands off.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But it sounded like reading some of this, if you take a little too long, somebody's going to be in your business.
Yep.
Question for you on this, duration and forfeiture of permit stuff. Let's talk about resolution for town of governing body. That's it, the factor for the city matter is no longer being looked on.
Yes.
Let's say it sort of automatically goes to the king.
Yes.
Benefit of the procedure completely.
Let me read it, hold on.
And will it have any effect on this guy?
Oh. I don't know.
Remember that?
Very well.
Yeah.
It's the graphic that shows who does what with
Oh,
with
okay.
each procedure. Yeah.
Well, we would have to add that in. I mean, if we have it in here, a lean and clean or
In other
whatever,
words,
yeah.
if something you're doing here is going to affect this, you probably ought to.
We have to amend that again, yeah.
Right.
So I guess the language should be, let's see, deemed abandoned issue shall go, may go to resolution. Because it also depends on money, if we have the money to do a lean and clean.
But you've got a procedure for clean and lean, right?
Yes.
Should you reference that may trigger that section?
Yeah, I think it's what, section, what is it, 9?
Or something to that effect?
Mm-hmm.
No different boundaries?
Ooh, sorry.
These are really hot tonight.
Yeah, they are. Very touchy. I thought we had something in there. Nuisances. Well, anyway, we can reference that. We'll add a note there to reference.
I'm sorry?
I was looking at the alternate commercial structure and it has mobile home listed. We would, because mobile homes usually are temporary, so would we list that there? Because it almost sounds like it could be permanent if it was.
Commercial.
Yeah, on the commercial structure.
It says it shall not be granted for any of the following structures within any commercial mixed-use light industry, special use zone, shipping, sheds, carports, recreational vehicles, or trailers.
How about the
Where are you looking at?
Definitions, down below the definitions.
Oh,
So it makes it sound like to me that they could use a mobile home, whether it's commercial. To me, I don't know if that should be in there.
well, we're giving a definition for an alternate commercial structure, and then, because we reference it, we reference the alternate commercial structure.
Mhm.
And it's a structure other than
Right.
a permitted stick-built establishment or manufactured building
Or mobile home.
or mobile.
So those three are allowed, stick-built, manufactured, and mobile.
Well, I thought on mobile homes, they were temporary for 1 year.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know, would they,
But
do
not
they
for
ever allow
commercial
for, I
unless
mean,
it's-
they should still
In
have.
commercial zones or residential?
In residential, I don't
So
know
let's
if they
take
even
that
allow
out.
in
Take
commercial.
mobile.
Okay, we'll take mobile home out. Unless we just change the wording of a structure other than a permitted. Yeah, because we wouldn't permit a mobile home for a commercial structure, yeah.
What was at the gravel pit before they had a building?
It was one of those, it wasn't a mobile home, but
Okay.
it was a temporary office, yeah.
Yeah, like for
All right.
construction.
Yeah.
So
Like a
nothing in here
construction trailer.
would disallow something like that?
They can
And
still
they-
do that.
No, they could, I mean, they could do a construction trailer for a year while their place is being built. So on commercial, we could say, well, we've got that in the other section, that they can have that.
And I dare say, you want to maybe move some of the stuff out and let those intersections. Go with that, Jim. We need to get close to it. I'd almost come to here and just take all that out, but you've already got it somewhere else better.
Let's make sure the wording that we have someplace else matches that before we take it out.
Just refer to that section.
Yeah.
Where it is.
So just put that in blue,
Yeah.
and then we'll look at that. Yeah.
We're still on discussion phase for this, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
What else?
That's all we've got.
Anything else?
We'll make those changes, and then we'll look for the
Yeah.
section and bring it back.
Work with it some more and bring it back, and we'll take another pass,
I'll put discussion/action just in case.
just in case. You
Okay.
never know.
I think we're getting close.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so if we're finished with that, we can move on to the next discussion item, item 7, industrial zone. And this is not an action item for tonight. This is discussion number, I've lost track.
55.
55.
Every time I put industrial zone on the agenda, I just cry a little.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing.
It's not. I didn't see this being as big as it is, but. So on this one, we just made the changes, like on setbacks to be determined by Planning and Zoning Commission based on a report from the Technical Advisory Committee. Then down under general requirements, number 4, plan review by the TAC. And then it goes out a little further than normal. A review of the proposed business with the Technical Advisory Committee detailing operational procedures, chemical use, MSDS sheets, drainage, and disposal plans is required. Documentation is on a case-by-case basis, therefore other information may be required for scheduled meetings. Was that all there was? Yeah, I think everything else was the same. And Randy Audio has this to look at, to see if he sees
Okay.
anything glaring, but other than that, I mean, honestly, I think at this point, as soon as we hear back from him, we need to pass it, just so we've got something in there. We can start working on other things, like changing the zone. And then we can amend this if we see anything that isn't working.
Yeah.
I do have a quibble, and I know I've been vacillating on this all along, and it has to do with the permissive versus the conditional uses. And I really, under the permissive uses, I think we need to come up with a list of what are permitted and strike the but not limited to. We've got to come up with, these are the things that we know we want as a permissive use. How I think you can get by, and I think it's already in section B, number 6, where it has under conditional uses, services including but not limited to.
Okay.
That's where I think you can pick up the things that don't fall under it.
All right, so is there any, we'll take out but not limited to. Is there anything else there that you can think of that we need to add under permissive?
Under this section?
Yes,
Permissive
under
use.
Under
the
permissive uses.
permissive uses.
Yeah, I have some concerns about the statement that, the lab experiment testing, medical, in the completely closed buildings. That's not enough. And is this just kind of first guidance? This is not an ordinance-like document.
This is not an this is,
Well, that's what I'm asking. It is.
yes.
Okay, because if you have buildings, completely closed buildings, that doesn't mean anything unless you've ensured the processes inside are contained, are safe, or, are not going to, put a hole in the building and something escape. I think there's something implied there. I don't know if we want to call it out or not, but just saying you have a closed building doesn't do squat for you for protecting the public.
So would you like to add back in that sentence that's been struck out?
We moved it up above in item A under
Okay.
purpose.
Yeah.
We moved the
Okay.
potential risks, and what we might do if we're allowing medical down below is add biohazard to that list of things that shall be contained in item A.
And so as part of this envisioning this industrial zone, as you get one customer after the other in there, is if you got something going on like that, or something going on with experiments, you need a whole lot more work to make sure that whatever you're completely close to the building is truly that, and that it removes any kind of effluence, any kind of small explosions that could drive effluence, that it puts that probability either very low, or you've put in the appropriate structure and the appropriate hardware and software to keep it from happening. I mean, we could put a nuclear reactor on there by this definition, because it's a closed building.
Right.
But tell me, would you feel comfortable about selling that to somebody if you hadn't had somebody go look and see what the consequences potentially are for whatever it is you're doing in there? Now, maybe this TAC should be reviewing every new customer, every new business, in terms of what are your plans, how are you going to handle it, and what is the safety implications, the risk assessment that needs to be done for the public.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to put those words in there, but
Yeah.
that's just another responsibility of somebody.
So we
Didn't we talk about it with Mike, the sewer? There was some discussion about that.
Right.
Of disposing of things
Right.
also.
Right.
Right, but I think the possibility of an explosion is a good thing to talk about. I mean, that's something you need to be looking at for some uses. Right.
Well, since it's conditional use, when they have to come before us
Yes.
and explain everything they're going to do, and we decide whether it's not safe, we
Right.
Well,
decide that.
I think we need a culture, we need an atmosphere that we're looking at that for the community, operator by operator, not reacting to somebody coming in and said, oh, by the way, they're doing small level explosions to bend metal, and in that, making sure that that's not going to cause a problem.
So,
It's not like a nuclear reactor, no, but
Yeah.
it is something that could cause certainly concern to the community.
Well, if they're under conditional use, you gotta try that
Yeah.
So, under purpose, at the top here, under A, It says this district is intended to provide for light manufacturing, fabricating, assembly, disassembly, processing, and treatment activities conducted in a manner not detrimental to the rest of the community by reason of the emission or creation of noise, vibration, smoke, dust, or other particulate matter, toxic or noxious materials, odors, fire, explosive hazards, or glare or heat. And we can also add biohazard. Do you think that would be enough to have that clause in there?
I think we have to make sure that the companies that come in understand that that is not just a promise, but it's proven before they put it together and start operating it. Because are we going to have a process here within the Edgewood area that we're going to certify that if you have something with some of these things here in a closed building, that's still good enough?
A safety.
What you could
under a
add.
Yeah,
safety.
a risk assessment.
The sentence under the
Yeah.
one you just read, Tanya, this zone provides suitable sites for a wide range of industrial and commercial uses, provided such uses are conducted, and I'm going to add here, in a compatible, safe, and harmonious manner.
Yes, yes.
Just add the word safe there. If you want to add biohazards up above,
Yeah.
now you've covered the medical aspect, and you've already covered explosives.
And
Right.
what you've just done is make the TAC the community's most important function, in effect.
Now,
Well, and
It's,
two,
it's septic systems, yes, but this is more
Right.
that the TAC has to understand and agree with. The TAC's got to certify that this is going to operate like it is. We know how the sewer plant operates, and they do a very good job down there, and et cetera. But I'm sure that somebody thought through that before they turned on the spigot the first time, and went through it all in this location with these angles of, the different elevation changes and all that kind of stuff. Went through that. That's all I'm saying here, that somebody, and I think it's the TAC, needs to do that for, even in, not for some of these, design and analytical services, I would say, that's not going to be very much challenge for the TAC. But office machine sales and repair, no. Public utility use or structure, I'm not sure. And wholesalers, that's pretty much standard, how you operate, warehouses and stuff like that. But there's some opportunity, laboratory, experimental, testing, or medical. It's in a completely closed building, but you gotta have more assuredness than that.
I believe, Tanya, don't you have the authority to call in anyone that you need?
yes.
So that, for example, when they were talking about the blasting ordinance, I know there was a lot of reference, they brought in people who certify those things.
Right.
Well-
Yeah, we could bring in whoever we
Whoever
wanted.
you need.
well, when Tricor put a laboratory here, did we look at what they're doing with biohazardous materials?
I don't know.
I mean, aren't there state regulations for the workers and the employees that are in the building? I mean, doesn't that fall under,
Some things might be under OSHA or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
some other-
CID, NMED.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe that's enough. Maybe the state, regulations and follow-up and inspections and all that stuff and adherence.
Nuclear reactor, when what is it, the federal one that licenses
The
nuclear reactors?
Nuclear Regulatory Commission. You have to have some independent organization that blesses it.
Right.
I mean, if it's a movie theater with a flaming oil popcorn popper or something, you gotta go do something that, I don't know how to work that in yet, but,
So you'd have to assure that the right agency has signed off on whatever they're going to do.
Right.
That would be
Right.
part of the.
And always keep in mind that the report that TAC does comes to you guys. And if you think that at some point we missed our mark, send it back.
Send it
Get
back
another
for more.
opinion.
Right.
Like a restaurant, they get, tagged if things aren't safe and
Yeah.
things like
Right.
that, so on a, regular basis, I guess. And that's inside, contained inside,
But lab experiments, especially if it's medical and stuff like that, it may be another degree of difficulty to show that it's not going to affect the community.
Right.
And the workers, and et cetera, and the customers and stuff like that.
Well, and also, this laboratory experimental clause in here was from the past. It was always in here.
Right.
So if it's something that you think is too big, we can always take it out.
I'm fine with it.
We have to know that if we're going into a light industrial zone, there may be another level of involvement by this TAC,
Yeah.
rather than just saying, okay, the building's in the right place and it's got enough setbacks and stuff like that. That's just the minor part for some of the buildings,
Right.
or at least there could be. Or maybe that will determine if we accept them or not, or something. Okay, thank you.
I had a question. A warehouse would not fit under it, is correct? I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a permissive use.
Here you go.
Item 4.
Wholesalers, distributors, warehouses, and or
Wholesalers.
manufacturers. Number 4, under B.
Oh, okay, so we do have warehouses.
Yeah.
Do we mention anywhere in here, let's say we have a fireworks warehouse. Do we have anything about
That might be conditional.
what you can store?
Kind
No.
of
I see things that
process
We
there.
don't have
you
anything
can't
like-
make and you can't use, but they may just be storing like
So
sticks
up
of
above with the,
dynamite.
it does say explosive hazards.
Ooh, where's that? I missed
It says that under purpose.
Yeah.
But what we're doing then, if we allow all warehouses to be permissive use, and one of those warehouses might be warehousing fireworks, we haven't examined that. They
Right.
said, I'm just building a warehouse, and we don't necessarily have any idea what's in it.
But we would ask. I
Yeah,
mean, even though it's permissive, we would still ask.
okay.
Yeah, and just in this state, we had a major incident
Yeah,
the day before the 4th of July or something, when
Yeah.
the firemen were hurt, and
I mean, the other way to do it
wider
is to
consequence to the town.
make any use of explosives or any storage of explosives conditional.
Well, and biohazards, how do you?
that's
you know,
true.
that
That's already
bio
conditional.
has been mentioned.
Like batteries even?
This is why I originally said that I didn't want any permissive uses.
There you go.
I wanted them all conditional. This is the
Maybe that's a
reason.
good way to go.
Because you just can't think of everything.
I
And when it's this,
think you're on something there.
yeah, I think they should all be conditional. But it's up to you
It's
guys.
conditional, but then you gotta have a TAC to evaluate.
Right.
You gotta have somebody to evaluate that. And develop, and then work with the manufacturer or the designer or something like that.
Let's do it that way. That's a good idea. Maybe say,
I think that's,
Hang up Bobby's audit.
Oh,
that's the step.
all uses in this zone are conditional.
Yes.
That's probably the best way to handle it.
Okay, so we'll just change that to every, there's
Too many
nothing
things that
permissive.
we,
Take
that we
permissive
may
out.
not think about.
That may be, like,
You know, we go nurseries, well, what if they're growing marijuana?
exactly.
And that could be coming up here.
I know.
We do not want to be
We're
Humboldt
getting
County,
closer and
New
closer.
Mexico.
Yeah.
That's for California.
Nowadays.
No, but
Everything
I
leads
think
to
that's the
something
right
else.
idea.
Yeah.
I think it sends the right messages to the companies that want to come, and sends the right messages to the people we serve in this community.
Yeah, just do them all conditional.
All right, so we'll change that. Okay,
Because it's going to end up that way by the time you have public comments and public interventions anyway.
yeah,
And I would leave the purpose alone,
yeah, I agree.
add biohazards and add safe, rather compatible, safe, and harmonious.
Okay,
Understand that makes you guys pass on everything that comes in.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We don't know how much, I don't know that this is going to be that fast.
Maybe some of us old guys will be gone by then, you know?
How this develops is really important, though, and it needs a lot of evaluation, I think.
Is there a way to put upon site visits or inspection, visits and things like that? Is it?
Well, I think when it's first coming to us, that you're not going to have anything to see.
See, right.
Yeah.
You don't,
When they're trying to set it up.
you don't want to start breaking ground until you feel good about that.
Right.
We're making a recommendation to town council
That's right.
that they structure the ordinance in this way. Once it's set up and ready to move ahead, you're in charge of reviewing what comes in the door.
Right.
And if it becomes a mess that we didn't anticipate, we're asked to advise the council again on how to change the ordinance. So we can always, we're not a legislative body, we're an advisor to a legislative body, and we're not enforcement, you are.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Could I throw in a on the other hand thing? I would like to see at least a small number of permissive uses, okay?
Okay.
And I'm going back to, and it could be very small, like data analysis, surveying, engineering. And that's what, 2, 3, and 5. And perhaps move wholesalers to conditional use, because that could open up, the wholesalers, warehouses, and manufacturers could reasonably be done under conditional uses.
Okay.
But that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, those others do seem pretty cut and dry, like,
Well, except we went around about public utility.
but public
Structures.
utilities, I'm not sure.
Are those solar farms or wind farms?
Those might, yeah.
But we have solar over here.
Everything leads to something else.
We have wind and solar energy separate from public utilities.
Right.
Just when you think you've got it figured out, then something else
I
comes
know.
along. Like, oh, I didn't think of that.
It would be simpler, though, to go to everything conditional, and then if, I just don't want to drive people off, because I could see someone saying, well, gee, what would require conditional use for office machine equipment sales and repair?
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't mind having a few in there. I do think that the number 4 and probably number 10 need to be conditional use.
And number 3 as well.
Oh, number 3?
Public utility, they're going
Nurseries and
to,
greenhouses.
they're fixing to go to 500 to 800 foot tall windmills. Now, and that's all happening over by Tucumcari and down by Willard. They're going from 300 feet on up because they're picking up a lot of efficiency and conversion to do that. So a public utility, they may want to take part of this and put in a couple of windmills,
Yeah.
And they can do that stuff pretty easy. That's hard work, but not,
4 of them, yeah. Do those 4.
So that leaves office machine, design and analytical services, data analysis, surveying, engineering. Those 4, right, are still permissive.
Yes. I'm good with that. That's okay.
Engineering doesn't involve cutting metal?
You never know. It
only
probably
with,
does.
only with equations. Only with differential equations.
Okay. What else?
I think this discussion, section 23 industrial zone, that's exciting. Especially since the country's supposed to be supporting and rebuilding and recreating some of these things.
Can I ask another question? Once we have this light industrial zone and maybe a heavy industrial zone, how do we market it so people know we have it? Who does that?
Couple of
An
organizations come to
organization that's
mind.
supposed to.
Right, but we don't.
One of them regional, the other more local.
Isn't what's her face was
Yes.
in your meeting with? So, yeah.
Well, and you know, a part of it too is that you actually get a lot of traffic of people just looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have it on our website.
Right.
And that we do have a agreement with Avita that's gonna market for us.
Oh,
Well, I think there's another layer of that we can think about. We've got a school down there that has a whole tech area with companies in it, just south of the University of New Mexico, down along, I can't remember the name of the road.
By Isotopes Park, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those people are doing, first principles, building a new method for building some kind of sensor device or radioactive detector, and when they get ready to build it, there's no room down there probably for them to build that. They're going to be looking for room, and we can be there saying, hey, we got a nice quiet area out in the East Mountains where your home's going to cost you less, bring it on out. So interfacing with that.
Yep.
What's that? I missed that.
Blow it up here.
UNM has similar think tanks at, it's Broadway and Cole, I think.
Yeah.
Or Central, Broadway and Central.
And the medical research going on at UNM Hospital is incredible. So if you got a medicine you've been created and you want to produce it, maybe they can't find a place to produce it down there,
Yeah.
Or their ordinances wouldn't look. So I think you're right. There's a lot of opportunities there.
Do you think that you could do action/discussion on the
Yes,
next? I think we're
Definitely, I think
close.
we're ready.
Because we've circled around a few
Yeah,
times.
we have.
I think it's time.
We're gonna just keep changing our minds if we don't get it out of
Even if we have to come back
here.
and edit it, let's
No, we're
get
starting
this
to
done,
move back
because we
toward
really
where we
need this.
started.
We really need this zone, I think.
I
Yes.
think we need to start selling these ideas to our town council and stuff like that.
Well, and there are also some lobbying efforts going on with the state legislature for some of the infrastructure, so that's happening too.
Notwithstanding the Moriarty Airport, which was going to be a really nice technical zone, and somehow lost that.
More on this one, or have we done enough for tonight?
I
Done
think-
enough damage?
We're good.
good horse.
Okay, then, unless I hear otherwise, moving along on the agenda in 5, 4, 3.
Amen.
The next item, item 8, is also a discussion item, the Commissioner's Reference Guide. We have a section of that in our packets. So what was the point of this one? Was this to do further editing or just accept tonight, or?
No, this is, I don't think that we need to, when we get it all done, then we can just accept the whole
Yeah.
thing. But I just wanted to bring in sections so we can just be looking at it that way rather than,
Right.
since we have so much lengthy things already, I didn't want to bring half of the reference guide and say, let's look at this tonight. So just a few pages at a time.
Well, one thing I noticed about this was that the roles and responsibilities of commissioners probably needs to be updated with the current ordinance and also these appeal of record.
Right, okay.
We might want to refine, dial in a little closer.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bullet points on page 7 of 30. We just did one of these, violating the first 2 bullet points. A need for appending conditions to a recommendation in favor of or the approval of a request is a clear indication that an application is incomplete.
Yeah, you know what?
We're waiting on a letter from NMED.
Well, I'll tell you what I would add in there is numerous conditions. Because.
Need for appending numerous conditions?
Yes. And kind of, you don't want to establish a hard number, but I can tell you, I got notorious in the past for if there was more than 3, send it back for more.
Start over, yeah.
But again, that was the thing, in that time, we did not have a formal TAC group. And someone gave it a name, but I don't claim it.
You can't remember the name?
I can remember it, but it shouldn't be cited in this document. That's an informal usage. It's not authoritative, Mr. Mayor.
Under threshold?
It's an advisory, not an authoritative criteria.
Under threshold.
You mentioned a couple of bullet points, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
the second one, if an application should be deemed incomplete, the commission must then decide whether a request should be denied or postponed. We did neither in the last
Well,
meeting.
there's a final clause there, or whether the commission may properly move forward with conditions or stipulations.
So that's what we did. We only had one stipulation.
Well, my thinking on a lot of conditions is that with the TAC group, I think that kind of gets the applicant, gives them, I think, more than just the staff's word that this isn't ready. But there is still a possibility that they could even meet with TAC and say, you know what, I don't like what I'm hearing from you guys. I want to go to P&Z. So that first bullet point, though, is not as relevant today as it was in past times. Right. Yeah, I think, because it is theoretically possible. You know, going back to page 4 of 32, I was looking where it's talking about the commission acts in advisory capacity with minor exceptions. The compositions and duties are described in the ordinance establishing the planning commission. We might want to add in there that table in the zoning ordinance that shows who's responsible for what.
Okay, so under roles and responsibilities of commissioners, you want to put the table underneath?
Yeah,
Okay,
so, or at least refer to it, you know, by reference, the zoning ordinance, where it is.
all right.
And believe it or not, a lot of people who should read the entire ordinance, they go totally on that table. They won't read the verbiage, so.
Do you ever embed things in documents so that if you update in one place, it cascade updates in other places?
I haven't, no.
Good idea.
A thing like a table, you could drop it in to more than one document, and when you update it in the master, it'll update in the other places. There's a few different ways to do it. I mean, are you using Microsoft programs?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah.
This one here is not an official town document.
Yeah, that's true.
This is just your guys' stuff.
Yeah, but that's okay. It could still steal its table from another
You were
document.
for using the table from another.
You wouldn't go the other way. You wouldn't update in this and have it update the ordinance.
Right.
But you could go in one
You
direction.
want to change something here and pop up in all your other.
No, you wouldn't change anything here. If you wanted to change the table, you'd have to change it in the other place.
Yeah.
Location.
Yeah,
You would change it at the ordinance level and
yeah,
then
they'd
feed
be
it over to this.
consistent. Otherwise, things fall out of synchronization.
It would make updating the reference guide a lot easier if we could get that data flow. Well, true.
What else?
When it talks about minutes, secretary and staff member maintain records in an organized manner. That doesn't happen.
What page is that on?
Page 4, under the secretary in conjunction with the
Right.
designated staff member. Secretary does attest to the correctness of the approved minutes, only, but you all do. Well, she signs it, though,
True.
so I guess that's how she's attesting it, so,
Yeah, so do I.
yeah.
I don't.
So, let's see. We can add that up by chairperson, too, about attesting to the approved minutes.
Yeah, you could say P and Z officers
Right,
in conjunction with,
right.
and then specify that it's me and the secretary.
Yeah. Chairperson and secretary attest to the correctness of the.
I think I found a typo too on page 6 of 30. I believe it was the do no harm, do not harm, it's do no harm. That sounds like an autofill thing to me. Page 6, and it's down, let's see, paragraph 1, 2, 3, third paragraph.
Okay.
Do no harm.
It does say that, I know.
It says do not. It should say do
Do
no.
no.
It says do no harm.
Really?
One in our handout, okay.
Oh, somebody missed with it, because I didn't, this is from a couple of weeks ago.
Mine's
Oh,
that way.
okay.
Yeah, mine says that too.
So somehow it got changed from the original. Yeah.
Should be do no harm.
Do no harm.
There we go. Yeah.
Because I already went through.
Yeah.
You got the new
You
improved
got
one.
6 of 30, right, okay, this is 6 of 58.
That's what Mike was blocking it.
Yeah. Someone must have changed it
I know,
since
that
then.
mic is hard to see.
It's a lot of paper.
Why is that?
It's about the one that was originally given to us.
That was an-
Yeah, I punched holes in mine and I put it in a binder or something.
Well, maybe so.
Why?
Yeah, we'll just.
Yeah, because you gotta yell it when you read.
On page 8, I'm not real clear about the old business and discussion items,
Yeah.
because I don't think that's how we, and then it talks about matters from the chair and commission, and that's not really, I don't think this is what we do.
Oh, no, yeah, we don't,
Does P and Z do resolutions ever?
no.
Just our operating resolution.
Yeah, that's the only one.
That's the only one.
So I think that whole paragraph needs to be changed.
Which one is that one?
Which
Page
paragraph?
8,
Page 8.
Page 8,
old
first
business and
paragraph?
discussion.
discussion
8
items.
of 58, yeah, old business.
Okay, so we'll change what that looks like.
What we actually do.
Okay, so only bullet points.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
we're
we'll look
gonna,
at.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and then, concluding business, I guess we
It's more calendar items.
There's a typo too.
Well, impact fees needs to be taken out because since this was first done, state law changed.
Okay, we looked at that one before.
When it-
know.
Oh, yeah.
Mush.
Did you first, what does that say? Acton?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had
Commission
Acton.
voted for Acton. So it's action.
Yeah, I remember we
Council has the
got that the other time.
power to form a subcommittee.
But that wouldn't be about our, KSA 4-1 that they brought to us?
Mhm.
Okay.
And actually, we have the power to form a subcommittee of the whole to work on a particular.
Well, we sort of did that for the, we actually had a committee do survey for this thing we just did.
Right.
Comprehensive plan?
Comprehensive plan.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, that would be an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we found a couple of typos we just changed, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Mush and Acton have been corrected properly.
You know, under the one that's right now called old business, I think that the resolutions there was probably too general. What it was referring to is the commission's operating resolution. And there have been times when that has taken weeks and weeks and weeks. to go
Really?
through. Yeah.
We don't even separate our new business and old business on our agenda, so I don't think they should be listed that way.
No.
No, we'll revamp
We-
all that. and
you
bring
need-
it back.
That needs to be renamed. so. And this whole section could be restructured too in a different way, because what we did there is we just looked at how agendas looked. This was, for new commissioners. And so at that time, I think we were doing old business and new business agenda items, so.
We just keep having old business and old business.
I know, Groundhog Day.
It's all old.
Can't make a decision, so.
New business is generally a public
Wrong
hearing.
Discussion items and action items. I guess we make it an action item when we're finally going to do something.
Right.
So,
It's very old business by the time it's an action item.
Yeah.
Public hearings really are the new business.
Yeah,
And things like comprehensive plan.
Right, right.
yeah.
Or did we talk about it not being necessary to vote on our agenda to prove it?
Right.
We did.
That's still in here, is that, have we?
Still there. I think they're still doing it at town council too, so.
Yeah.
Well, though, I kind of wonder because, sometimes you change the agenda around, so
Yeah,
I'm not so sure that I see the point of that instruction that came to the clerks.
Yeah, we do change, we'll say, changes, or text that.
Right. And I think for the OMA considerations, you do need to, if you do change the order of things, you probably need to take a vote on that.
yeah, since it
Yeah,
gets
I mean, one
published
way
a
to do it
certain
is
way.
you don't approve the agenda. What you do is you allow for motions to amend the agenda. And if there are none, you
Yeah.
move ahead.
Yeah,
But, we can, maybe that's a question to bring to the parliamentary thing in August.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the agenda has been done and published, so it is a legal
It is,
document.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
We don't really have to approve it. We only have to approve any change, any
Right.
deviation from it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's the way it needs to be presented.
Yeah, you could do it. I mean, item 2 would not be approval of the agenda. It would be a call for amendments to the agenda,
Yeah.
if any.
On page 10, where it talks about number 1, the minutes, I'm not familiar with Mina's guide to minute taking.
Okay, yeah, I'm not either, but we don't have 10 tonight, we only
Oh,
have
don't
page
go that
8.
far.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
I've been studying this in the van for.
Yeah.
Just marking, question.
I found it, it's online. You can actually buy copies of it, or you can find large chunks of it free.
I like Janelle's agenda, about taking.
Is there anything else on this one tonight?
We'll make those changes and bring them, and then another few pages.
That'll be our old business, old business.
Well, that takes us to item 9, public comment. I don't see anybody here but us. Even the mayor gave up on us and left.
Boring.
And I assume there's nobody signed in to speak. Item 10, matters from the chair and commission members.
Is there, are we having a class on Friday? It said, I had it written down, class 11 to 5
the
p.m.
12th.
maybe.
It had been the 12th.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
It's been changed to August 16th,
August 16th.
yes.
I won't be there. Okay,
Yes,
so
Commissioner.
cancel that.
I have something I'd like to discuss, just a minute. We discussed, last week, we kind of talked about the case we heard, or not specifically them, but, you know, the secondary housing and concern for coming rentals and stuff like that. But, I mean, my opinion, I just was thinking about that all kind of through the, week. Houses are bought and turned into rentals all over town. I mean, that can happen anywhere. And I don't know if that's a totally bad thing that you have, that would, they might end up with a rental, because, maybe that way of having some lower income housing is better than having a apartment complex. I mean, that might, because it disperses kind of different places, and I just kind of wanted to see what y'all thought on that. I mean, I don't know if that is that big of a concern. I know you kind of mentioned that you were kind of concerned, and just kind of wanted to
Well-
talk about it a little bit. What would happen if that started happening, and
We'd never know.
what,
Honestly.
how would it change what we did? Would it make it not be a bad thing, I guess?
Usually, the objection to apartment complexes seems to be an aesthetic one. I don't want it any higher than XYZ.
Right.
I don't want a lot of traffic coming in and out. What if it's just a big square box? It'll be ugly.
Well, and they have an idea that apartments bring crime.
Right. And the flip side of it is, often apartment complexes can be well-managed. I mean, the example of Section 8 housing in Bernalillo is a good one.
Yes.
Versus the rentals on my street that are often not well-managed.
Yeah.
The folks who didn't want to pay their garage door and knocked it off its cable, only one of them, so it dangled from the other cable for a couple of months, yeah. Because the owner, the landlord, lived in Albuquerque and had very little concern about the danger of a hanging garage door to kids in the neighborhood.
Right.
So, but as I'm saying that, I'm thinking, should this be an agenda item for a future meeting?
I'm just trying to think of scenarios,
Right.
and so if we, have we done the right thing, or do we need to kind of just watch it for a while and keep an eye on how things happen as we approve these, to see whether it's a good thing or not.
Well, I think your point about it being, having rentals somewhat dispersed is probably a good one. And I think what it will come down to is code enforcement.
Yeah, if it turns into a junker.
Right, but what I'm a little bit concerned about, there seems to be this push to go towards funding Lean and Clean. That's a very expensive option, and I think we need maybe to look and see if the governing body is interested in moving towards a consensus on simple enforcement, as in fining. Because when you get these absentee landlords, we've got an absentee landlord on our street, longtime residents moved to the West Coast, and the property's, going down.
Actually, I believe Torrance County has started finding people, and they will even throw you in jail for not I mean, so I think we're gonna have to start looking at a little bit strict. I mean, that's Torrance County, that's pretty usually very unusual for them to be very strict, but even they are starting to get stricter. I think we really need to look at that as,
Right, we're supposed to be having a meeting with Randy Audio regarding this, and hopefully we can get, bless you, the judge on board as well. So we're trying to have a whole powwow with all of us, so hopefully he can understand that that's what we'd want to go more for, because the smaller fines and the threat of jail would probably get a lot of these
that's
things
eventually,
resolved.
it's not the first step, but.
Right.
And I would like the first step with people to be, particularly if they are genuinely in trouble. They're older, they've been ill, they've lost their job. Put them in touch with people that can help them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do that first.
Right, so that's something that happens down the line where it's, you obviously have a history that nothing's being done, et cetera.
Right. But, you look at properties, and without mentioning specifics, when you have one property that has junk pushed out to the perimeter of the property, it's piled up year after year, and you see it surrounded by homes. Now, these are modest homes, but they're well-kept, they're well-maintained, and the people, if situations are allowed to go, that hurts the property values for the town, it's bad for the town, but it's not a good thing for the neighbors who are trying to be good citizens. And I think that when you have scofflaws that are allowed to thumb their nose at the town, the neighbors, and, maintain a breeding ground for rodents, that's not a good thing.
Right.
Anything else? And seriously, should this be an agenda item for a future meeting to talk about
It can be.
rentals, apartments? I mean,
just-
it's a valid topic for a land use commission to talk about.
Enforcement and the judge and stuff, I don't think it's our place. I don't know.
Well, but when we do things like recommend these secondary quarters, that is having an impact, because I know people come in and they say, oh yeah, it's for my mother-in-law, but
How do you ever police that, though?
you can't.
There's
But
no
that's
way.
why I think it comes back to code enforcement, when you have absentee landowners and landlords let the properties go, then you have a way of doing it. And I can tell you from experience in the past that most of these absentee people, if they're starting to have problems with code enforcement on them, they'll sell the property or clean it up or hire a property manager because they don't want the aggravation, so.
So when somebody comes in with secondary quarters, the one thing that we look at is to make sure that they are the owner of the land. Because if they're not, and they're just putting something on there, that they are the true people that live there and they're the owner, because then it is probably for a family member.
Well, I'd like to confirm something with you, too, is that these are conditional use. So let's say that someone comes in and they build the secondary quarters for a family member. That use ceases. They want to rent it out. Technically, they should come for a conditional use.
If we write it in there, yeah.
Yeah, right now, there is no stipulation that they do that.
And then what do? Do we tell them no? I mean,
I don't think you can tell them
You
no.
probably
I
don't
mean,
think you can.
They've
It's their
invested money
property.
into that property.
Yeah.
and-
Right, so.
but if it
They
turns
maintain
into
it, and
trash,
they're-
then
if
that's
they-
when code enforcement steps in.
Well,
They
and,
maintain it, I
you know-
don't think it's a problem, I guess.
I think what we've managed to do in the way that we've structured secondary living quarters is reduce the probability that it's going to become detrimental to a neighborhood. That they have to use the same driveway. It's not like something you could build over here that becomes kind of an
Separate.
ersatz subdivision
Right.
where
Yeah.
they have their own exit, and now you've got two houses on one piece of land.
Yeah.
And it is still, it's not a huge secondary quarters. So it's, the way it's structured right now, I don't think it's going to become a big
I
problem.
hope so.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm more concerned about the flip side of it, that is having houses that end up being rentals advantageous to having apartment complexes. The other thing that factors into that is we're expensive.
Right.
Rents in Edgewood are high.
If you can find one.
Right, that's the thing, availability. People will say, you know, the only thing to rent is a 1,600 square foot house and it's expensive.
There's no rental.
Right.
Should we be doing something other than that? And right now, every time you say the A word, people go, oh, no, 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 never apartments.
I do think that the comprehensive plan, if it's adopted, is going to at least open the door.
Open the door, yep.
Go down a little bit, so.
And us
We've been
having
pretty
this
careful.
secondary housing does help people who can't afford these, you know, who need a little place.
Yeah.
I think we're helping the problem a little bit. And even if it does become a rental, then at least there's another rental in town, somebody can rent, you know.
They're sharing the
If you're
same
living
septic
next door that
system.
close, you might make them, you know, do
Right.
what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Well, and people have rights to do things with their land.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we told them you can do it within these parameters. We can't then come back and say, you know, as long as it looks nice and we approve, I mean, looks nice like aesthetically, not looks nice like not piled up with junk.
Right.
But there's a point where we don't really get to regulate it.
No. And I think at some point, too, that you would hope that property owners are going to not want to do something that's going to be detrimental to
Right,
them selling
sure.
eventually.
You
Sure.
may want to sell someday, and if you don't take care of that,
Yeah.
you're ruining your own own value of your property.
Yeah.
Right.
Other, I'm sorry,
So that
Commissioner
was-
Huppert's, is that it?
That was it, just wanted to chat about that a minute.
I think it might be a useful agenda item at some point. Anything else from other commissioners? I got nothing new.
Any update on Church Road? Any contractors? No.
Nothing that I know of. I didn't go to the last council meeting.
I did look at some of the budget stuff, and it is on there from the last council meeting. I went online, looked at it.
The council did approve the language needed to go ahead. So NMDOT has put a new requirement in, some language that they have to agree to take responsibility for the process, and it took a little while to get that ironed out, but it's done, so.
Oh, okay.
See, we always segue from matters from the chair and commissioners into matters from the staff. We've already hit one of them. What else you got?
Tim has some things.
Yes, we've been working on a couple things, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and just pass these out for you guys real quick.
This isn't anything that you have to pass, it's just letting you know what we're up to.
Okay, good.
Have an idea what's going on.
Oh, good, I got a complaint.
And maybe I gave someone an extra form here. Let me get you the.
I got two sheets. You got two?
You can email it.
Yeah. 2 sheets.
No, I got just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can email it to me also.
No, I've got an extra copy.
All right, thank you.
So the first one is just a general complaint form. We are trying to migrate towards this because technically the ordinance is asking us to get a written complaint whenever somebody does come in, so we do want to be compliant with that. And then also when it falls back, when someone does an IPRA request, that we want to have that actual backing for it. So just wanted to show you what we came up with. I am going to work on getting it digitized so that you can type in it as well, and that we can post it online.
Who do we give this to? To you directly? or-
Yes, that would be to us directly. And then the second one, which would actually be going to town council, but we wanted to let you know about it as well. We're wanting to revise the business license ordinance as well. Just a couple of minor things, mostly grammatical, but the few main things that we wanted to do is just kind of include the itinerant vendors. That was our big issue, because we've got a lot of folks that just come here, they sell a couple times, and then they just leave. So we wanted to be able to capture those and at least get them to pay the $25. And then we also have an extra $25 fee on top of that for them
Like
specifically.
the ones up at Phillips 66?
Correct. Correct. So for those
gosh, take
folks. Exactly. So at least we get something, since they're getting all of this cash
All
and
the
it's
ammo
not.
guy and the rug
tax-
people.
Okay.
Right, so,
Yeah.
Well, it does put the people who have a established place of business and do pay their fees, at a disadvantage.
right, exactly. So that's mainly what we wanted to do with that. And then, of course, adding the corrections clause in so that we can just amend anything grammatical that ever happens, or anything clerical. Also changing the definition for itinerant vendor. So it had it initially as someone who sells products more than 6 times a year, which that's really not necessarily, we can't really track people that well. So we said more than 1 time. That's why we wanted to amend it. That makes it a lot easier to track, and then we can just enforce it. So that's basically what we were working on and we were going to present forward, but we just wanted to make you all conscious of that.
Looks good. I have one suggestion for this, just
Sure.
for you to consider.
Mhm.
I certify that the above testimony is accurate and truthful.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
might add truthful.
Yeah.
Just give it some thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes complaints like this can be used to kind of harass somebody, dog somebody.
I wish you guys could hear some of the calls we get.
Oh, I know.
Yes,
I
we,
suspect, yeah. So
That's
now,
why
you
we
know,
laugh all day.
but then the person who fills this form out has to be aware that they might be called out for
Well,
stating things that are not completely true.
and the thing about having this is it'll cut down on a lot of
the complaints.
complaints.
Good.
Because then they actually have to physically
Yeah, if they don't fill it out,
Yeah.
to us.
And then you can focus on the ones that really need your attention.
yes.
Exactly. And I mean, we'll still be doing patrols and everything
Yep.
anyway, so that'll still be taken care of regardless.
So that's what they
Yeah.
will be told if they call,
Yes,
that you need to either come in or it's going to be on the. web-
online on the website,
Yeah.
yes. So either way,
Good.
that's what we're.
Oh, that really
towards.
helps you.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
I like it.
Excellent.
One already.
And I had the extra, and they're stuck together.
Oh,
I guess they came out of the,
Has anything happened with the people living in the RV on their property?
When the mics go off, we'll tell you all about it.
Yes. Yes.
any other matters from staff?
I think we're
No, I
good.
think that's it.
Calendar update. Next meeting, the 23rd of July. I'll be on a plane to Boston. I'm going to have to miss that one. Commissioner Turner will be chairing.
And I'm not sure if we're gonna have any of those on there, because we may have that training that night. We're definitely not having the public hearing for the zone change. We'll have that first meeting in August,
Okay,
because when I went to start their file and send out the letters for the abutters, their application was incomplete, so we gotta wait a little bit.
is Mr. Campbell still scheduled to be?
Yes, he is, but he has moved from Albuquerque, city of Albuquerque to city of Rio Rancho. So we're not sure if he's still available.
okay.
And that would be on the 23rd. So
Yes.
that's tentative. and that's-
And we'll talk about, well, we might take action on the industrial zone.
Hope so.
Reference guide and development review again.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, since you are planning to be gone,
Mhm.
I'm not going to let you off this easy. If you have something that you want discussed, email it so
Okay.
we can, if you want to put your oar in the water.
Yeah, sure.
So,
The first meeting in August, I am going to be at the state prison in Wyoming for a couple of weeks.
fun.
What'd you do?
Yeah.
Purely business,
Couldn't resist.
I'm not saying. I just won't be at the meeting.
We'll wait for you.
Yeah. Send me some
back.
cookies.
Yeah, with a file. that
Packet
was-
file it.
And the cookies, yes.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, that takes us to item 13. If there is a motion to adjourn, I will entertain it.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
We're having